Good evening and buonasera, everyone. I am very, very happy to welcome you to the first event of a new series which the Romania Diaspora is organizing. The project is all about community integration and better relationships, both with our community neighbors and with authorities, especially the West Midlands Police. The project has actually been made possible by funding from the West Midlands Police and Crime Commissioners Community Initiatives Fund. That was two mouthfuls, not just one. So we are very grateful for this funding that allows us to bring this series of events to you. As I said, tonight is our very first meeting. We are going to have a dialogue with representatives of West Midlands Police and local communities. There will be 4 further events, themed events, so please look out on our social media pages for specific dates. But in sort of mid-November, we're looking at a event specific about COVID. Then in late November, early December, we are going to have a very, very special Romanian event around the parliamentary elections. In December, we're going to speak about Brexit and its implications, especially on the Romanian community. And then in January, we're going to wrap up with an event about public safety and anti-terrorism. You are very welcome to join us for all or any of these events. And I am handing over to my colleague Sorina now, who will talk to us a little bit about the premise for tonight's session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andra. So good to see you all, and thank you very much for accepting our invite to come and talk to us and give us a little bit of information that may be useful for the Romanian community. The reason we have considered this series of events important is simply because we are interested in education and in bettering ourselves. It's the whole purpose and premise of any Romanian migrant coming to the UK. It's because we're in search of a better life, a better community life, and a better integration. So we wanted to bring the 3 parts together this evening because we think that with the expertise and knowledge that West Midlands Police have to offer, there is a particular section that is very little known and quite quirky from a Romanian perspective, which is neighbourhood policing. It's not something that we're used to or know about, but also from Tracy's perspective, the domestic violence information and implication for the community as well as the police, and from Rashta's perspective, community and integration, as well as all the challenges that she can walk us through when trying to run smooth neighborhood relationships. So without further ado, I would like you guys to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about who you are and why you're here tonight. If you want to start, Simona.
Oh, hello, good evening, buonasera, everyone. First of all, thank you for the invite. Myself and Tim are very happy to have joined you. My name is Simona Zetto. I'm a police community support officer. I've been in the UK for 5 years now, and I've been in the force since February 2019, so 19 months almost. I worked in Willenhall Worcester, so I covered. I've been always in within the Worcester NPU, covering Willenhall for 1.5 years, and I've just moved to Worcester town for about 2 months now. Mm-hmm. And I've got here my colleague Tim.
Hello there, yeah, it's Tim McLeod. I'm PCSO as well, based in the Paddock and Delves neighbourhood, in Warsaw Police now for approximately 14 years, always doing neighbourhood policing. And Warsaw, very, very diverse community. So as a neighbourhood officer, a fantastic location to work because you're working with such diverse people, diverse communities, different cultures, different religions, different backgrounds, a whole melting pot. And it really is a real diverse and community in which you can really try and make a positive impact. Challenging, yes, but also rewarding.
Thank you, Tim. Tracy?
My name's Tracy Richards. I'm from Public Health, Coventry City Council. Buonasera. And yes, I'm here tonight really to make sure that we're joining all our communities together and making sure that all communities have the information and support they need. So my background is working with families, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to a good session tonight.
Thank you. And Rashta?
Thank you. And thank you, Serena, for inviting me to this. I'm Rashta Butt. I'm the Community Development Manager working in Hodshaw constituency in Birmingham in the Ward End ward. And I've been doing that for in that area for about 25 years. And over the 25 years, I've seen a number of communities travel through the estate, come and gone. It's a very diverse estate, and my role is to create community cohesion, community activities to bring communities together, because there's lots of things that we do that there's common threads that run through all communities. So really, I'm here to share the work of the area of Ward End.
Thank you. Andrew? Take it away.
Unmute. It will be the theme of the evening, I'm sure. Before we start on the big conversation, again, one aspect of our project is the whole series of events is themed around living and working during a time of crisis. So I just wanted very, very briefly to remind you about the current situation around COVID, specifically in the West Midlands. As you probably know, most places in the West Midlands are in Tier 2 already. Earlier today, it has been announced that from Saturday at midnight, Dudley, Staffordshire, Telford and Wrekin are also going to enter Tier 2. And there is a strong possibility that Birmingham itself will enter Tier 3. That has not been confirmed yet. Just a brief reminder what Tier 2 means. So no household mixing indoors. Outdoors, we stick by the rule of 6, and pubs and restaurants are going to close at 10 p.m. Today, unfortunately, there have been 23,000 new cases announced, which brings up the infection rate to 226 per 100,000 people. And also 10,000 people are seriously ill in hospital. So please stay safe, please take care, and please continue to listen to us and our COVID-friendly virtual events that we hope you will enjoy. Simona and Tim, what can you tell us about policing in the UK? How is it different, perhaps, from policing in other countries? And can you tell us specifically about your roles in neighbourhood policing? This is, for most Romanians, this is something fairly new. This is something that we didn't experience back home. So perhaps you can give us a little bit more details about that. Thank you.
Okay, I'll just start with a little overview around West Midlands Police and neighbourhood policing. West Midlands Police is the police force responsible with policing the county of West Midlands, which is a very large area and with a very diverse population of approximately 2.8 million people. The force deals with more than 2,000 emergency calls every day, and also patrolling the streets 24 hours, 7 out of 7 days a week. The force obviously incorporates lots of departments. We've got specialized officers and departments in different areas of policing. We've got traffic, dog unit, firearms, the response, the force support units, and obviously neighborhood. The neighborhood policing involve just a team of officers, PCSOs, police officers, and volunteers, all led by a sergeant, a police sergeant. I would say the equivalent in Romania is not actually the community police. Community police in Romania would be the equivalent of the traffic wardens and the council enforcement officers. We are what in Romania is proximity police. And I remember 5 or 6 years ago, so yeah, just before I came to the UK, receiving a letter from my proximity police officer describing a role very similar with what we're doing now. So the neighborhood police have a wide understanding. We're trying every day, to be honest, of the community issues. And that enables officers to gather the intelligence to resolve the problems. We are quite dedicated. So the neighborhood police, it's, as I've started, a team of officers and volunteers, like special constables, led by a sergeant. And we are dedicated to policing a certain area to build trust and understanding with the communities we're serving.
Okay.
I'll let him describe better. He's been in the job more than I have.
Yeah, so as a general rule, neighbourhood policing, there's usually probably about 8 officers in a team. In my team, we've got 4 police officers, we've got 3 PCSOs and 1 sergeant. And like I say, we've got a designated area where we are tasked to patrol that area. It's all about, neighbourhood policing is all about connecting and building communities. We live in we work in such a diverse area where we've got so many different cultures, so many different religions, so many different languages. It's a real melting pot of residents, and it can be quite challenging because of the different cultures and different things. But it's about trying to connect and build and get relationships so they all sink in and merge with one another. And it really is it's challenging, but it's rewarding when it works. One of our other roles is going into schools. Schools is great because you can get in at such a young age, and it's about building up those relationships, and it's about working with the communities. Police officers, police ourselves, we are part of that community. You know, it's our role to integrate in there. And when we go into schools, getting into the schools and engaging with the young ones, they grow up with you. And all of a sudden, when you go out of school and you're on the streets, they know you by your first name. They're more familiar with you. They're more confident to approach you. That's where it really starts. That really starts in the schools, because if they've got the confidence and they're not scared when they see you like this, sometimes it can be quite intimidating for a young person to come and approach you. But when they see it in the school and they see a different side to you when you're out on the streets, we are very much more approachable to the younger ones. And then they drag moms and dads along and start introducing you to. And all of a sudden, those barriers slowly then start to get broken down. And that's what neighbourhood policing is all about. It's about breaking down barriers, connecting society, communities together. I think we are really, really amenable, we're approachable, and very, very tolerant. I think when you perhaps look at other forces throughout the world, they may not be as tolerant as police forces in the UK. I think the police force in the UK are very, very tolerant of different things. So we're there to help, we're there to support, and not just that, we're also there to signpost, because we don't know everything. Yes. We don't. We signpost to the experts. So if it's domestic violence related, we'll signpost to domestic violence. If it's something else related, we will make referrals. we have elderly people who live in our communities who need help. So we might refer them to help the aged or something like that. So we might make different referrals. We make referrals to the fire service if they need the smoke alarms checking. So we work with partnerships teams so as we can help a multitude of people. And neighbourhood policing, it's the one area of policing where we connect with community. Response teams are in and they've gone. Traffic officers are in and they've gone. But response team, neighbourhood teams are really planted in the middle of communities, and we are there all the time. So neighbourhood policing is absolutely crucial to community work. That's it.
Yeah, I would like to add that the teams are very diverse as well. So we've got officers with different backgrounds, different communities. And since I joined, I've also created some sort of presentation about my country, just to raise awareness and to, increase understanding about my culture. And I was really impressed with the interest all of my colleagues have showed in learning about my culture. So it's we're learning every day from each other as well. As from the public.
Yeah. And also West Midlands Police right at this moment in time are doing a huge recruitment drive.
Yes.
And one of the things, what is a big push is diversity. West Midlands Police want the police force of West Midlands to be more diverse and more representative of the communities what we work in. So now is a fantastic time for members of the public from different cultures and what have you to apply to the police and join the police and make the police force a more diverse police force, which is more representative of the communities what we're actually working.
I would encourage Romanians to apply for the job. West Midlands Police, it's a amazing force to work for. And also, I think our time is almost up. I would like to mention about WM Now, which is an information platform, as it's really, really useful. It comes with translation in multiple languages. So please go on West Midlands Police website. You'll see a button WM Now. There is a section, and press the button Join Now. Please register. This is a platform where we use to send messages to the public about anything that might happen in the area. Yeah. So this is our tool, especially with these difficult times we're going through. It's our communication tool. So I will just give an example. If there is an increase in burglaries, for example, in a certain areas, we'll send a message out that will come through the email or SMS, or it depends what communication method you've set up. So please register to WM Now. You can keep informed about everything that's and
it's our way of connecting. It's our way of connecting the police to the community.
To the community.
But it is not the method of reporting crime.
I would like to mention that as well, because I think within the Romanian community there is a lack of knowledge within the reporting tools. So 999 is the number for emergencies, life-threatening emergencies. It's a 999 call always. It's 112. I've heard that a lot within speaking, engaging with people from my community. It's 999 for the UK. 101 is the number for non-life-threatening emergencies or non-emergencies. Also, it's very useful is the web chat. So West Midlands Police website. There is a button live chat on the right hand side, if I'm not wrong. I think it's the response time is much quicker than the 101. And then obviously you can get in touch with your local neighborhood team on the same website, West Midlands Police. You can actually do a search using your postcode, and that will lead you to your local team. So you can see our faces as well, because we've got our pictures there. And there is an email address to contact directly your neighborhood team. But please do not send emails to that address to report crime. Crime should be reported to the same numbers I've just mentioned, 999 for emergencies, 101, and web chat for non-emergencies.
Thank you very much, Simona and Tim. I've just actually found the website that you mentioned, so we will post any links or any resources that you mentioned during anybody.
It's a really useful tool, and I would just recommend everybody to register to it, just to keep in touch with us.
Excellent. We will post all of those resources, or Sorina has already posted it in our on our page so that people can refer back to it. It's been really, really interesting. I think we have. Sorry.
I apologize. One more thing to mention, since you've mentioned you'll have a few next sessions or events, a couple of events to follow this one. If any questions, you know, everything can be put together and we can answer the questions in future sessions. Definitely. If you're still going to invite us.
Absolutely.
I don't know. It depends on how tonight turns out.
Okay.
Thank you very much for that. But yes, that is lovely to hear, because we are keeping obviously the event open. So if we have any more questions sort of later on, we'll pass them on to you. I believe this is the point where we will seamlessly introduce Tracy.
Thank you.
And her activities in the community, especially around supporting victims of domestic violence.
And I think it would really be very helpful if you could maybe in the presentation that you go through, maybe focus on specific examples, even if it's just, you know, case scenarios where then Tim and Simona can say, well, yeah, that's where we would intervene or we would signpost. Because then that builds up that knowledge of, I need to go to them for that, and I need to go somewhere else for this other case.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, well, so I'm fairly new into this job, to be honest. So I've only actually been in it for 8 weeks. So I'm going to talk a little bit about domestic abuse, but I wanted to, because you were talking about particularly around community, I wanted to talk about what had happened for me kind of during lockdown. So I'm going to kind of go back a few steps, and then I'm going to go back into the domestic abuse. So in Coventry, at the start of lockdown, there was an aim to set up 10 emergency food hubs. So I was part of setting one of those up. So in Coventry, we've got 10 emergency food hubs, and we've got social supermarkets. So I don't know if anybody's aware of those, but as I say, we have 5 in Coventry. The emergency food hubs, you have to be referred through the city council and meet certain criteria to get a food parcel for those. But the social supermarket, anybody can go to, and they are £4 for a bag of shopping. That's around a £20 worth of shopping. So just really useful to know for lots of people out there, particularly at the moment with maybe people being furloughed or being made redundant or whatever else. So, you know, that time over those 5 or 6 months, a lot of community organisations and community members came together to work together to make sure that people had what they needed. And some of those things were food. Some of it was around struggling with regards to gas and electricity. So there was a great kind of spirit in Coventry really to work together, and there still is now. And I think people will know from the media the whole thing around free school meals, and you know, in Coventry they've agreed to actually offer something throughout the holiday, and a lot of community members have come together to offer parcels as well. So I just thought, as I say, as we were talking about communities, it was worth mentioning that. My job actually with domestic abuse is to work with the services. So I actually don't work directly with service users, but mainly with the services. So I will talk, Serena, as you say, about some of the instances as to what that means. But my job really is about raising awareness about domestic abuse and what services are there to support people in the community. So just briefly, for those of you perhaps who, if you don't or do know, the definition of domestic abuse actually covers those from 16 years up. And that was brought in a few years ago, where there was a lot of 16 and 17-year-olds that were subject to domestic abuse or involved in it. So the definition of domestic abuse includes those that are 16 and up. And that abuse, often we talk about domestic violence, but again, people will know, including kind of people that have spoken already today, that you know, it's not just violence. It can be sexual abuse, it can be financial abuse, can be physical, as we said, emotional, can be stalking, can be online abuse. It's when somebody is controlled, really, and it can be one event, it can be a series event that works up to that. It's not always for those people that are in, it's not always about people that are in intimate relationships or previous partners. It can also be parental abuse. So, you know, adults, you know, with their parents, that there's some abuse going on. And that's the second kind of highest referrals that we seem to see is around that kind of relationship, really. So Coventry has one of the highest rates of domestic abuse in England. We know that the police receive more than 100 domestic abuse calls every hour in Coventry. Over a 10-week period in the West Midlands, there was 60, this was 2018, so a couple of years ago, 16,500 crimes were flagged as domestic abuse. 10,726 involved violence, 386 were rapes, 6 were attempted murders, and we had 2 actual murders in that time as well. As you'll be aware, since lockdown, that kind of has got worse, really. So we've got a lot of people that may be in those kind of situations that are indoors, not managing to get out, and actually, kind of just really with the person who's abusing them a lot more than they ever were. So for us in Coventry, we've seen a real rise in numbers and are really concerned about what's happening. So the most common abuse, as I say, is partner abuse, and women and children are those that are most affected. And we found the kind of average age of those involved is, that's a victim, is usually around 26. Groups that are affected but don't tend to kind of refer or ask for help are men. We know men are abused, but we don't tend to get referrals from men. Older people that tend to stay in relationships that are abusive, but maybe think that that's, you know, that's their life and don't perhaps always see it as being abuse. We know people from the lesbian gay community that tend not to refer for help. So I suppose for us, it's about trying to reach out to all different communities, particularly those that don't refer or ask for help, to make sure they're connected. Also those from the Black and ethnic minority communities. So yeah, I think for us, we know that sometimes language and you know, understanding of what's out there is sometimes difficult for people to find the right support and the right services, really. So in Coventry, we have a range of services that offer accommodation, work with children, work with those that abuse others, the perpetrators of the crimes. But what we do have, we've got a number of services, and I think we are quite lucky in Coventry, but all the information we tend to keep on a website that's called Safe to Talk. So yeah, on there is different information for children and young people, for professionals, or for people that are concerned if they're in a situation that they're really struggling with. But there's also what we've added recently in the last 6 weeks is an online chat function. And that's not just for people that maybe are in an abusive situation, but for professionals. So if anybody wanted to talk through somebody they were working with or concerned about, they can call that number and talk to somebody about that. In Coventry, as I say, it's a significant issue and a real priority for Coventry City Council. I mean, we spend about 34 million a year, but it's not actually the money that's the issue. I mean, it's the awful kind of crime and the fear of just living day to day for some people. That's kind of the priority for us, that we want to kind of stop and you really make sure the right support gets through. So we know 1 in 4 women will be affected and 1 in 6 men, and on average two women die every week, and 30 men every year in the UK. I mean, I think I looked at national figures. I think we've had 26 women and 2 children die since the beginning of lockdown. So it's a real serious issue, not only for us in Coventry, but for the United Kingdom. So, you know, I think for us, doing sessions like this is really important. So, you know, Serena was talking about examples. We have many examples of families that need support. I know the helpline, somebody was talking to me recently about a lady that had rung that was saying she had no children and didn't think she could get support. She didn't think her abuse was bad enough, but she could get support, and it didn't matter about her children. She was in an abusive relationship. and needed support, and that's what we're able to offer. So it's not just you know, families, it's not just single women, women, it could be you know, a man. There are different scenarios for people and different needs, so you know, we would make sure that we do all we can in those kind of situations. Yeah, you know, as I say, it's since lockdown, our referral rate has gone up, and we expect it to go up further. So for people to know what support is out there at the moment, I think is really critical.
Thank you very much, Tracy. I've posted the link to Safe to Talk
Great,
in the event,
thank you.
and we're going to look for equivalent information from Birmingham City Council as well, just to make sure that that information is.
Yeah. I can try and
well,
find that. I've probably got that, Serena, if not, because we've got contacts in the West Midlands. I've had a meeting this week with them, so I've probably got some information if you need it.
That's fine. Thank you very much. Do you want to then, because we're talking about community and we're talking about families, I think that kind of slides into very much your court, Rashta.
Okay, so my kind of talk is just based around the work that I do on the ward in Ward End on the Overpool estate. So it's a kind of a reflection of community development that probably happens across the city. So I'm just going to talk about my project and the impact of the work that we do in my neighbourhood. So I work for an organisation called St Margaret's Community Trust, which is a charity. And this was formed in 2008 to lead the refurbishment and the redevelopment of a Grade 2 listed St Margaret's Church, and that was to provide a community venue with the key objectives of improving the lives and well-beings of people that lived in Ward End. In 2012, a major refurbishment, which was funded by Heritage Lottery and Veolia, was completed, and we completely renovated the building, creating a light, open and welcoming space, which is now known as the Unity Hubb. So Margaret's Community Trust hosts all its community activity under the banner of the Unity Hubb. In this diverse neighbourhood where differences can be identified through race, ethnicity, faith, culture, and many more ways, we choose the word hub to frame our community activity, as this means love in Arabic. This remains our focus. Unity and love has helped to bridge the barriers between church building and our diverse local community. We aim to be unique organisation within the community, one that can host and draw in activity and resources that will improve the lives of local people. With strategic links and partnership, we then enable the Unity Hub to ensure community voices are heard and influenced as widely as possible. We observed that there was a lack of opportunity and confidence amongst women in the community to connect. So we hosted a pilot of 4 monthly events where we facilitated an open forum for women to come in and meet their neighbours and discuss issues that were affecting them and their families in the neighbourhood. 37 women took part, which exceeded all our expectations. But what was very clear was that this was a good experience and they wanted more of it. This expressed need for an open and safe place for women to meet, and this led to a development of a project called Women in Conversation. These are facilitated sessions where women can come together and get to know their neighbours, share stories, find common ground, but with a clear focus on personal growth. Then the second development from Women in Conversation was identified by the women who attended, and this was called Women in Progression. As local women developed in confidence and found their voices, they decided they wanted to be agents for the change in their community. So this is a group that developed focusing on empowering local women to build on the skills they already had and supported them to share with each other. This is the beginning of supporting them to have their voices heard within the community and to affect and influence local decisions and decision making. So what's emerged from these two groups is a vast amount of talent, practical skills, making amongst the women in our community. So combined with concerns for wider community around well-being, isolation, mental health, these women now support the running of our Happy Healthy Tuesday activities, which include yoga, cook together, eat together, arts and craft, Women in Conversation, wellbeing workshops, and other activities that put us in touch with women from ages of 18 to 86. Before COVID, we had recently started a new group aimed for men in the community to support their mental health and wellbeing, physical health, as well as offering them a chance to socialise with other men. This group met in Christchurch, which is a little bit further down from where I am based, and this group was meeting once a week. we continue to use this, continue to meet this group via Zoom. The feedback from the group was that in this difficult time, Zoom meetings have helped the majority of the members to stay connected, deal with loneliness, isolation, anxiety, and boredom. The group is still staying in touch, and we're about to start a new men's shed project with them. And they're going to be making models together. And at the moment, they still will be doing that through Zoom. And it's a creative way to keep them connected. So we knew for a lot of our users when lockdown happened that the Unity Hub was a lifeline, and we're now in a very difficult time. So we started to think of creative and safe ways of staying in touch with as many as we could. We have a WhatsApp group for women, which currently has 67 members, but this was not the only way we access our community. So in partnership with the local allotments, we put together mini garden kits and started to deliver to local people. Word of mouth travelled so quickly that there was such a demand for the mini garden kits. We delivered for 6 weeks and realised that this is just not manageable, and there was a great appetite for people to want to come out and grow things. It was a real connecting of local people. It didn't matter what background you were, people had growing in common. So there were plots available at the local allotment site, and the Unity Hub took on a plot, but the plot is very large. It's frightening for beginners and can be overwhelming. So what I did was I split the plot into 10 mini plots and offered it to local people. Examples of some of the people that have taken on mini plots are, there's a church group, there's 2 friends who have recovered from a traumatic COVID experience. There's 2 neighbours who live near each other, and they live alone, and the allotments are a safe place for them to come and meet, and they come twice a week. But this has also enabled people to get out and meet in a safe place outdoor, deal with isolation, and most of all, support and improve their well-being. That project is called the Diverse Garden, and it's diverse in age, gender, ethnicity, and faith. Diverse Garden allows all experienced and unexperienced gardeners to come together and use their skills. The project is growing quickly as people are noticing the benefit of outdoors, and we now have 3 plots. The allotments have reconnected some people to their heritage, as agriculture is part of some of the people's history, intergenerational activity. It's a pleasure to watch grandparents teaching their grandchildren to grow. There's lots of sharing of plants and seeds across cultures and learning different methods of planting the same seed. Many assumptions have been challenged, and a great allotment community has formed. Future plans we have for the allotment are we're currently working on a tea room, and we are about to install a clay oven, which we hope to use once a month for community meals next year, hoping to bring different communities together. The allotments are a great evidence of community development. New people visit and stay, some pass by, but all are welcome. We realise growing fruit and veg is a common thread amongst all communities, so I hope to continue to encourage more people to attend. The allotments also host other activities other than growing, because growing doesn't necessarily appeal to everybody. So we have a space there for conversation where the women come, and if they don't want to grow, they don't want to take part in anything, they just sit and catch up and put the world to right. We've got a creative gardening project going on at the moment, and women are using DIY skills, tools. They're making things like grow boxes, but there's always something for everybody to do. Asset-based community development is led by the citizens. It's at the core of everything that we do, and has informed the development of activities at the Hub. We get regular feedback from local people in forms of interviews, questionnaires, consultations, written feedback. The community feedback is they feel empowered, inspired, and supported to improve their own lives and communities through the work that we've been able to develop at the Hub and the allotment. Unity Hub will welcome anyone to join in the activity. So if anybody knows of anyone in the neighbourhood who would like to be part of the growing or craft or just a chat, please direct them to us.
And we shall. Thank you ever so much for that. It sounds like that's the place to be, Tim, for your talk. Sounds like the perfect place for a cup of tea and a piece of cake from organic ingredients.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you. That is fantastic. And thank you ever so much for sharing with us, both, all of you, really. I'll hand over to Andra.
Thank you, everyone. I was just listening to you. I was just thinking how to best sort of wrap up all the things that we've discussed today. And for me, there are two things that really stand out. First of all, that if you are in need of help, there is a lot of help available out there, either being from the police or from the local authorities or from volunteering and support and charity groups. And please don't worry if you don't think your English is good enough. There's always somebody there to help you. Perhaps Birmingham and West Midlands are more mixed and more diverse than we think. So please reach out if you need help. There will be somebody there for you. The other thing that really came across, and this is something very personal, is that there are also loads of opportunities to get involved. If you have some spare time, or if you just want to give something back, again, there are opportunities to volunteer, or Simona and Tim, we're trying to recruit you if you have even a bit more time. But also, if you don't need help, but if you perhaps are looking for companionship or a meaningful way to spend your time, again, there are loads of opportunities out there. Please reach out, and actually please share them. We are keeping the discussion on this event and on our page open. So any recommendations, any good tips, we're really looking forward to hearing from you. And it's really good to hear, especially that we as Romanians are welcome, and that people want to learn who we are, and would like to work and interact and spend time with us. That is very, very important to hear. So thank you everyone for bringing that message tonight. Just really briefly, because we're almost at time, I don't know where time went actually tonight. I just really briefly wanted to remind everybody that hopefully in the next fortnight, we will bring you the next event in this project, in this series. It will be more focused on living and working during the times of a pandemic. So perhaps not as a light subject as tonight, but hopefully something that you will find useful. We're making no promises, but we have approached people who work in the healthcare sector. So hopefully at least one of our next guest speakers will have first-hand experience of living in COVID times. And of course, West Midlands Police are very kindly supporting us with guest speakers again. So we are looking forward to introducing them too. Keep an eye out on our social media, and send us any suggestions or questions that you might have. Stay safe, stay well. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Noapte bună, everybody, and bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye,
Yeah.
everybody.
Bye. Bye.